Well, let's speak to Peter Fintl from technology and engineering consultancy Capgemini. Thanks a lot for joining us, Peter. You know, it's not so long ago that I was sitting on this program talking to someone about Chinese electric vehicles, and they were saying that it would be a long time until they could challenge European brands in Europe. But do you think that idea has stood the test of time, or are we about to see that happening?
Rob, first of all, thanks for having me. Well, the Chinese OEMs, they are now about to enter the European market, and they come with might. What seems to a surprise for many that they are coming overnight, in reality, this is a process of decades, right? The Chinese industry, they have honed their products, made them safe, made them technologically advanced, and made them with an appealing design and with good quality. And now they are ready to go overseas. So we will see them as a market player in many markets of the world.
And I think people who haven't been following the Chinese electric vehicle industry, which is probably many people, will be surprised to know how developed it is and how diverse it already is. How has China managed to foster that industry so quickly?
Well, quickly, this is in the eyes of the observers, right? The whole power of the Chinese electric vehicle industry, of the whole electric vehicle value chain, is the result of a very smart, right, and long-reaching industrial policy. Already in 2015, the Chinese government created their Made in China 2025 industrial policy, which more or less said China should become a dominant player in several technological fields, and not only dominant for domestic markets, but in the world markets. And one of those areas the Chinese government saw as strategic was the buildup of a competitive electric vehicle value chain, right? And now since 2015, the major players received billions and billions of renminbi in subsidies and support and, of course, government goodwill, right, in order to build that up. And paired with Chinese ingenuity, and now we do see the results. Attractive products, great technology, excellent price point, right? So now they are ready to go global.
You talk about great quality and great technology, but Chinese products still don't necessarily have the reputation of those particular qualities. Are European consumers going to want to buy Chinese electric vehicles?
I think the point you mentioned, this is really one of the dangers, why, let's call it bluntly, a takeover of foreign market, it's not granted and it's not given. Because there is still the conception or the image about Chinese products that the quality sometimes is lackluster, that there are shortcuts in product safety and so on, right? But the Chinese OEMs are well aware about their image in those markets, and they want to change that. And if you look at the current products the Chinese OEMs are cranking out in China for the Chinese market, or the products which they want to conquer overseas market, it's not necessarily entry vehicles, like 15 years ago. They are going into middle class or luxury class even. And if you look closely at those cars, you see how well they are made, how careful the design was made, and that they're overall a good package, with an attractive price. Not necessarily super cheap, but attractive. Clearly, there are some ways where the traditional car manufacturers are superior, maybe the final finish in build quality, maybe the application of the best application of driver assistance systems and so on. But I think what is very important to understand is that the level of the Chinese products, of the Chinese vehicles today, is a far cry from the image most consumers might still have in the back of their head.
You mentioned the domestic market in China, which obviously is enormous and one that car makers all around the world would like to be able to tap into. You've got Tesla over there with their gigafactory, what is it, Shanghai, and German car makers would also like to tap into that. How are European and American car makers doing in comparison with homegrown electric vehicle makers in China?
So the Chinese, when China started its car industry, it was dependent on the cooperation with foreign OEMs, right? And for decades, the Chinese market has been a valuable playing field for the Volkswagens, the General Motors of this world. And over the years, it became, for many of these brands, the single most important market. And many of these Western OEMs, they delivered a lot of technology, know-how, great products to China, and the Chinese consumers also valued that, because from those brands they were getting good quality, safety, and technological level of technology they liked and they could perceive, and they were ready to pay good renminbi for those products. Yeah, and now with this transformation from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, things have changed a little bit, because China, as said, has supported the domestic OEMs in many ways, right, to crank out competitive vehicles and to more or less frog leap, right, the internal combustion engine companies. And now they have attractive products in their portfolio. And what is adding to that, I said the Western OEMs, they have not jumped on the electric vehicle bandwagon so fast like the Chinese OEMs. So that's one thing. And what is adding to that, that also in the field of digitization, connectivity, digital experience in the vehicle, in the last years, the Chinese OEMs have invested a lot and have now attractive offerings that match the expectations of Chinese consumers better than what Western companies have to offer. And this is an alarm signal for Western companies in China, that they need to adapt more, better, faster, closer to local taste in order to stay competitive in the future.
Something that is always an issue when we're talking about advancements in Chinese technology is intellectual property, particularly when it's, an area that companies elsewhere in the world are already, well established in. How much of the success that China's had in being able to make products that are now so saleable, how much of that is down to copying technology from their competitors in Europe and the United States?
Yeah, let me answer it from that perspective, right? The Chinese government had installed a policy: if you want to enter the market, right, there need to be a close collaboration with local industry giants, the so-called joint ventures. And as a nature of the thing, on one hand, in order to gain market access, you have to involve local companies in designing, building, manufacturing your product. And this is clear that this also is an exchange of know-how. And over the years, you learn from your partners, right? But this is the same if companies are coming to Europe, right, and building their own engineering design centers and manufacturing sites on that. Yeah, it's an information exchange in both ways, right? And
but it's slightly different, isn't it? In that companies are required to form a joint venture if they want to operate in China, meaning that exchange of information has to happen, where in other countries it wouldn't.
Yeah. Right, you're right, but this is the bargaining power of the Chinese government, yeah, because they have a huge market which promises billions of renminbi in profit, and you get access to this market by opening up your know-how, right? This is the deal, but this is not something which is new, right? And for many years, for companies, it was a good deal.
Okay, Peter Fintl from Capgemini. It's been really interesting speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us on DW Business.
Thank you. Thank you.